Welcome back. Let us continue our study in Daniel. As we were looking at our last session, we were talking about Daniel chapter 7 and the four beasts that came out of Daniel chapter 7. And what we see at the end where we are now is a conglomeration, a bringing together of those powers to form the Babylonian system that we're now in. Notice in the end, what we looked at as we saw a seven-headed beast with all of the characteristics of the four empires we saw. And let's talk about that for a minute. Remember, these four empires that the Bible highlights are highlighted because they have laid hands on Israel. They scattered Israel and Judah. Okay, that's why they're highlighted. They scattered Israel and Judah. Okay, y'all understand that part so far? Because what I'm about to say is dovetailing off of that. So we saw in Zechariah chapter 1 that the four powers that scattered Israel and Judah are picked as the four powers because they scattered Israel and Judah. And we saw Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome. Now, if these powers have in common that they scattered Israel and Judah, it would make sense for us to understand that as they are brought together, they are four powers brought together that have agreed to scatter Israel and Judah and to oppress, take it a step further, to oppress Israel and Judah. Y'all understand that? So now when we go to Revelation chapter 13 and we see the combination of these powers at the end where we live at the end, we understand that as part of that conglomeration, they oppress Israel and Judah. So let's put it together. Israel and Judah is scattered. We know from the word of the Most High, from Moses' testimony, from Ezekiel's testimony, from Jeremiah's testimony, from Messiah's testimony, from Zephaniah's testimony, from Amos' testimony, from Hosea's testimony. We know from the testimony borne witness of the Hebrew Israelite prophets that Israel was going to be scattered to the four corners of the earth. Okay? And they're scattered by these four powers. And that as a result, especially of Moses' testimony with regard to our enslavement, that these four powers combine to create the system that make our enslavement. Okay? And so these four powers are not only against the Most High, but of course they are against his people. And so we go to Revelation chapter 12, verse 17. Revelation chapter 12, verse 17. Notice what it says, Revelation chapter 12, verse 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Yahweh and have the testimony of Messiah Yahushua. So you see, in the Babylonian system that we're in, there are people, all the people that are not the so-called elite are oppressed by the system. Okay, they oppress their own cousins, the sons and children of Yafet. The leaders of this system oppress their own cousins, and they got their cousins deceived. Like the Bible says, the whole world is deceived. They got their cousins deceived into thinking because they look like them, that they're not going to hurt them. And that they got their cousins deceived to believe that they actually share power with their cousins, but they don't. The truth is, they are now, that is the elite of the children of Yafet, oppress everybody. But especially the oppression is directed toward the seed of the woman. Okay? And the remnant of her seed, which is Israel. So we know that although the whole world is suffering in oppression under the system of Babylon, they have a special directive to really come after Jacob's children. They have a special directive to really try to suppress and destroy, if necessary, Jacob's children. And you can see that according to the Bible prophecy. Now, Revelation chapter 13, with regard to this conglomerated power that lay hands directly and scattered Israel and Judah. Not only have they scattered Israel and Judah, and we have fingered this seven-headed beast as this conglomeration as the United Nations led by Rome, okay, in secret. So we know that this conglomeration led by Rome in secret are united in several areas. Number one, they're united under the dragon, and they're united in their oppression of Jacob. See, you're not imagining it when you see how oppressed we are. You're not imagining it. It's not your imagination. They say, well, there's no more slavery, and I don't know why you guys keep bringing that up. You're not imagining that it still exists. You're not imagining that we are placed in ghettos. You're not imagining that our neighborhoods that they created are the ones they're filling with cocaine and drugs that come from overseas. You're not imagining that Jacob fills the prisons. You're not imagining that. That is by design. Because all of them have laid hand and scattered Judah and Israel. Not only that, it is the United Nations that caused the Ashkenazis to take the land from the Palestinians. Am I wrong? Was it not a vote of the UN that decided, okay, this land's going to give to these people who we're calling Israel, right? And we're going to kick off the land to people that were there for thousands of years. And we're going to give this land to these Europeans, these Germanic tribes who call themselves Israel. It was the UN that did that. And they did it with the woman's blessing because the woman is writing it. Does that make sense, y'all? So now we understand, because that's why I always tell people, if the Bible tells us the Messiah is going to come and lead us back to the land, Messiah is going to do that. That's what the Bible tells us. Like Joshua led the children of Israel into the land the first time, Messiah is coming on the White House to lead the children of Israel back to their land. And if people want to believe that these Europeans that are in the land now are the children of Israel, well, then by logic, that would make the UN Messiah. Y'all understand? If Messiah is supposed to lead the children of Israel into the promised land, and the UN voted to give that land to these Europeans that we see there now, that means the UN must be Messiah. Right? And it fits, doesn't it? Because it's man-made and man is God in the Babylonian system. Okay? Man is God. So it makes sense that for them, the UN is Messiah. Okay? Okay. Revelation 13. So let's go back to that. From verse 1 down to verse 8. From verse 1 down to verse 8, Revelation chapter 13. Again, this conglomeration of powers that we're seeing in Daniel 7, here we have them at the end where you and I live. And now understanding their origin as being picked by the Most High as those that have scattered Israel and Judah, now we understand also they are in charge of the enslavement of Israel and Judah. Revelation chapter 13, beginning at verse 1 and going down to verse 8. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. Now, you need to understand, we talk about, it said the dragon gave him power, seat, and authority. So whenever you see the prince of this world being talked about, you know it's the dragon. And he represents all of those nations that scattered Israel and Judah. And we'll talk about that as we get later in Daniel. Verse 4, and they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given to him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against the Most High Yah, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. Now, people that are Christians think they the saints. But if you ask them, did you get overcome by this beast? Did they overcome you? They'll say, oh, no, Jesus caused us to get the victory. Well, that's not what it says here. It was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. So whoever the saints are in this verse, they were overcome by this 7-headed, 10-horned beast. Well, we know we were scattered. Israel and Judah were scattered. We know we were enslaved. Therefore, who are the saints? Again, Israel and Judah. The 12 tribes of Israel and Judah are the saints it's talking about. And it's talking about the bloodline 12 tribes, because we were overcome, weren't we? We were taken into slavery, weren't we? We're still being overcome, aren't we? It was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. Why? Because it's the time of the Gentiles. Isn't that right? It's the time of the Gentiles. Messiah said we're going to be taken captive into all the earth until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. It was given unto him to make war with the saints. We are the saints, brethren. Israel is always the saints, not Christians, not white Jesus. It's Israel. The bloodline is the saints. Okay? The bloodline is the saints. Jacob's Hebrew Israelite descendants, who you know because they were taken into slavery and they were overcome by this system, this collaboration that scattered them. Okay. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. I think we can see that. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. So Israel and Judah were overcome by this power. Okay, that, brethren, so you see why I say the beginning of chapter 13 shows you the completed iteration of this beast, of this system. The rest of the chapter is showing you how they got there. Part of how they got there was overcoming Israel and Judah. And we know they used us to build their kingdom, did they not? Did not the children of Japhet use us to build their kingdom? Did they not force us? See, we say it all the time. People come to the United States seeking freedom and opportunity. And that's cool. They come from all these nations seeking freedom and opportunity. The freedoms and the opportunities they're seeking were built on the backs of slaves. Hebrews were the slaves. People that were working for free, and not because they volunteered to work for free. They were kidnapped and they were brought here under slavery for the purpose of building up this empire. Okay? We're the only people in the empire that were brought to build up. We didn't voluntarily come here. We didn't say, oh, let's go to America and so get opportunity. No, they came to where we were, bought us, stole us, kidnapped us, and brought us to build up for the purpose of building up their empire. So everybody else that comes here saying, well, my parents came here with nothing. Yeah, you came here with nothing unto a land of opportunity built on my family's backs. That's how you got here. The ship that you came on to get to New York Harbor was probably built by us for free. We're the only people that fit that description. Okay. And so we're in this system. Okay. We're in this system. And now we're awakening in the system, which I mentioned before, according to the Bible, is the death knell of the system. You see, the time of Japhet is being fulfilled. And its fulfillment is being met because of the awakening of the Hebrews, because the Father, remember what the Father told Moses? He said, I have heard the groanings of my people in Egypt, and I've come to deliver them. And he said, when we turn back to him, after the blessings and the curses, when we turn back to him, he will come and deliver us. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. And that's why when you go to Revelation 14, first thing you see in Revelation 14, verse 1, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their forehead. You see the same thing. You see the triumph of Father Yah's kingdom given to Messiah with the 144,000, and the rest of the chapter is how they got there. Chapter 13, you see the final iteration of this beast in this system, and the rest of the chapter is how they got there. So that the 144,000's rise and awakening and sealing are the death knell of the beast. Okay. Now, back to Daniel chapter 7. Daniel chapter 7. Now, let's pick up from the fourth beast, because that's the one with the 10 horns in his head, right? So you got, just picture the scene. You got 7 heads. And so you got 3, and then you got 3, right? And then the one in the middle has got 10 horns on it. That's what's going on here. So you got 3 heads, and you got 3 heads. And the one in the middle, I'm going to break my thumb because it's the little horn. In the middle, that's the one with the 10 horns on it. Okay? So now, Revelation chapter 7, let's start at verse 7 and read verse 7 and 8. Okay? Revelation chapter 7, verse 7 and 8. That's right, Stephen Kelly. We were not coming here yearning to be free. We're not part of the masses that came here yearning to breathe free. Those were children of Japhet by and large. We came here under oppression, and we're looking to break chains off our necks. Yes, we were not, and we didn't come here. We were brought here. That's the difference. You chose to come here yearning to be free. We were brought here as slaves. And yet, some people try to act like, well, you're not in slaves no more. As long as you understand that we can never be equal with you, because we will destroy you if we were. You will never allow us to be free. That's why when Malcolm X quoted Elijah Muhammad as saying, give us land. You don't want us here, so give us land where we can. That's saying right there, you're talking to the oppressed, and you're saying, whenever the words give us start, okay, you already got a problem. So you're talking to your oppressor, and you're saying, give us. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. You understand? Never going to happen. Or let us. Hey, Moses said, what did he say? Let my people go, that they may serve me. He said, thus saith Yahweh, let my people go, that they may serve me. Did the Pharaoh listen? He asked. He said, let my people go. Did he listen? No. So then the Most High said, I'm hardening Pharaoh's heart, because I'm going to show my power in him. Brethren, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Now, Egypt has been replaced by this 7-headed, 10-horned beast. Okay? Egypt has been replaced by the 7-headed, 10-horned beast. And they're not letting us go either. And there ain't nothing you could ask for that they're going to give you. When you say, give me, they're going to say, forget you. I'm going to give you something else. And he ain't going to like it either. Okay? So that's why we go to our Father. And we go to him as he had wanted us to come to him under Moses. That's why he said, I am a higher. Tell him, I exist, sent you. And my name is Yah exists. That's my name. Yah exists. Tell him Yah exists. And he said, I set you free on eagle's wings. Yes, brothers and sisters. Messiah about to return. Okay, he's about to return. And he's going to show the earth who his people are. He's going to show the earth that he is sanctified in us. And he's going to, in his Father's name, destroy Babylon. That's what's coming. Okay, Daniel chapter 7, starting at verse 7 and verse 8. Daniel chapter 7, verse 7 and verse 8. After this I saw in the night seasons, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was, and here's an important point, it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. So this kingdom was different than the other three. In what way? Verse 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them a little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. What makes this last iteration different is that it's led by a religious power. It's led by a man-made religious power. That's what makes it different. Babylon, Media, Persia, and Greece were strictly revolutionary military takeovers. That's what they were, right? So Babylon, led by Nebuchadnezzar, was a military revolutionary takeover. The next kingdom, the Medes and the Persians, as we know when we read in Daniel chapter 5, a revolutionary military bloody takeover. And then, of course, Greece came with Alexander, a military revolutionary takeover. None of them were led by a religion. Not saying they didn't have a religion, but they weren't led by a religion. Eventually, the iteration of Rome that we know became led by the Roman Catholic Church. Christianity came out of Rome. The Roman Catholic Church was that leading religion. Why is it a little horn? Because it doesn't have its own army. It uses everybody else's army. It uses everybody else's government, and its subjects extend as tentacles into all nations. It's a little horn, but it produces great power. They're speaking great things. Okay, mouth speaking great things. It was different from all the rest. Now, you know it said right here, verse 8, it says, there came up a little horn, and 3 of the first horns were plucked up. So the origin of the Roman Catholic Church was in the children of Japhet, Europe, right? It was in the land of the children of Japhet. Its origin had 10 divisions. And it still has 10 divisions, but the difference is they're not based, 3 of them are not based in Europe, are they? The original 10, there are 3 that were plucked up and now have been replaced by other nations that Japhet controlled, namely Japan, Canada, and the United States, right? So those 3 replaced the original 3 European powers that were plucked up by the rise of the Roman Catholic Church. So you had 10 divisions of Rome, okay? But 3 powers were plucked up and didn't exist anymore because Roman Catholic Church came and took it over, and 3 that were resisting don't exist anymore, right? And so now you have a replacement of them, and those replacement of them are Japan, Canada, and the United States. So now you still have England, Portugal, somebody mentioned that, Spain, France, Germany. You still have all of them, right? You still have Holland, or the Dutch, and the Netherlands, the Netherlands and Belgium, which is still one. You still have all of that. Okay, and Italy. No, not Ireland. So you have Britain, you have Spain, you have Portugal, you have Italy, you have France, and you have Germany. You have all of that. And then you have the Belgian Netherlands, which really was the Netherlands because that was a kingdom. And then so you had that 7. That's the 7 that's left. Then you have that's 7. Then you have the United States, Canada, and Japan. Those are your G10 right now. That's your G10. Now they have 11 because they split the Netherlands and Belgium because they became independent nations, but originally they were one nation. They were one nation. So they're going back to the original, see? So they call them 10. They still call them G10, even though there were 11 nations. And the reason there were 11 is because of Belgium and the Netherlands. They were once one under the kingdom of the Netherlands. But now Belgium has its own situation. Okay, so you have the G10, and the 3 that were replacing the ones plucked up are the United States, Canada, and Japan. Now, who was plucked up? You had the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, and a group called the Heruli. These were independent groups in Europe at the time, and they were all resistant to Rome's rise as a religious power, and they were overcome. Okay, that's why you had the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, and Heruli, and I believe those 3 were plucked up. Okay, but they've been replaced now with the 3 we mentioned. Okay, I think Spain was the Goths, but I'd be guessing, Joe Curry. I don't really know for sure. I have to look it up, but I know it was the Goths, the Visigoths, the Ostrogoths, which are all part of the Goths, and then the Heruli, which were actually in Italy, but they all were overcame. They were resistant to the Roman Catholic takeover. And of course, they were resistant because you had Turkey's not part of it. Turkey is the king of the south. That is the opposition. Why would Turkey be the opposition? Because what? It's not Christian, is it? Turkey's not Christian. What's Turkey? Turkey is Muslim. And Turkey used to be called, not Turkey, what was it called before? It was called the Ottoman Empire. It was the founding of the Ottoman Empire. And it used to be part of Rome because the capital was called Constantinople after the Emperor of Rome. But then when the Muslims took over and the Ottomans took over, it became what it is today, Istanbul. Okay. So no, not Turkey. Not all of those nations are the original 10. They're in Europe, but they're not the original. They're not the powers of Europe. See, so you got countries there that's not the powers. So you got like Czechoslovakia, what used to be Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia. You have a bunch of them that's there. But they're not. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. They're all European nations, but they're not the 10 original ones. See, yeah. All right. The 10 are, and you can see again. You can see when you look at Romania, right? Romania. When you look at the G10, it tells you. Just look up G10 for the UN, and it'll tell you. It'll tell you who they are. It'll tell you. Okay, and all of those that are not on the continent of Western Europe are Japan, Canada, and US. When they are 3, and you see here the little horn plucked up 3, so you have 3 replacements because now we get to the final iteration in Revelation 13, and what do you see? 10 with crowns on. Okay, see. Yeah, so you got a Romania in there, you got Czechoslovakia in there, Serbia. There's a bunch of nations, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. There's a bunch of nations in there that are European, but they're not part of the 10. Okay, yeah, there you go. Well, let's continue. So the fourth empire was different in that this one became a religious power with the rise of the little horn, who we know to be Rome. All right. You should believe it because the world don't want the truth. The world wants you to believe what they teach you in the Babylonian system of brainwashing. I mean, what do you even think about? Think about the education system in the world right now. What the education system really is we memorizing what they tell us to memorize and being able to expertly regurgitate. Isn't that what they consider educated today? I mean, you're really not learning something. You're basically memorizing what they tell you to memorize, and then you're regurgitating what they just told you to learn, right? And that's what it is. That's education today. That's not really teaching you to really use your own mind and expand anything. No, you just basically memorizing. You pass tests are passed based on your memorization ability. Doesn't mean you actually know what you're talking about. You can memorize stuff. Okay, that's really so. The people that have that, what do they call that? They got people that have that instant recall. You know what they call it, total recall. So you can somebody can look at a page and within like 5 seconds tell you everything by memory what was on that page. That don't mean they understand. It just means they just memorized it and regurgitated. Okay. And from what I read, they do that with spies. They brainwash people to become spies. And then the spies get to see documents and they don't need to write anything down and they don't need to steal any paperwork. They just look at the document and they memorize it. They once did a show on it and it was about spies. It was based in England and they had this young brother. He was a young Hebrew. And they found out that he had this total recall. And so they had him break into a place just to look at documents of the enemy. And he looked at the documents and then he got away. And he came back later and he just regurgitated every document, every word of every document. And they just wrote down what he regurgitated because he just, in a few seconds, he looked at every page and he remembered everything. That's today's education. And that brother would be considered a genius, wouldn't he? Because he can regurgitate exactly what he saw. Doesn't mean he has the creativity to make anything, but he can regurgitate exactly what he just saw. That's modern education. Okay. And that education is a brainwashing education because you're not using your mind. Your mind is not being expanded. What you're doing is regurgitating what you just read. That's all. When you read the Bible, the Most High gives you his spirit. And when he gives you his spirit, he causes your mind to be expanded so that you can look beyond the system of Babylon. As I said, it's not about our intellectual capability in terms of our ability to memorize and regurgitate. It's about us understanding. And we're going to see in the book of Daniel where the angel tells him, I've come to give you skill and understanding. That's education. Okay. Come to give you skill and understanding. Okay. So now we see this little horn. Daniel chapter 7, verse 9. Now watch this. Daniel 7, verse 9. Daniel says he looked at the horns. His attention was directed toward the horns in verse 8, and he saw a little horn. Verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. So we're seeing the Father Yah. He has wheels on his throne. What do you suppose when something has wheels? What does it do? It moves, right? Right? It moves. And we saw in Ezekiel that he has beasts carrying that form these wheels and moves. The throne moves. So he has flame of fire wheels, and he has a judgment scene. Here's him sitting. So we know what the Father looks like. It tells us what he looks like. He said his garment was white as snow and his head like pure wool. Father Yah's hair like wool. Isn't that amazing? Father Yah has hair like wool. That's interesting, isn't it? Are there any peoples on earth that have hair like wool? It didn't say his hair was straight and stringy. It said he had hair like wool. That's interesting. Okay, let's keep reading. Verse 10. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. We know what that is from Revelation chapter 4 and 5. We'll go back over there. And the fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. So there's books associated with beings. And the books and beings are associated in a thing that the Bible calls judgment. It said a fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. What is the fiery stream? Take a look. Revelation chapter 4. Revelation 4, verse 5. Actually, let's read, Revelation chapter 4, verse 5. Revelation 4, verse 5. Let's read verse 5 and 6 for a little context. Revelation 4, verses 5 and 6. And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices, and there were 7 lamps of fire, a fiery stream. There were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of Yahweh. You can't lie to Yahweh's spirit because it's a fire. You can't even open your mouth in a lie. Even Asatan, the father of lies, can't lie before Messiah, before the Father, because of the 7 streams of fire coming from before his throne. Praise the Most High. Then it says, and before the throne there was a sea of glass, like unto crystal. That's why we know when you see the numberless multitude standing on the sea of glass, you also know Father's throne is there. Before the throne was a sea of glass like unto crystal. And in the midst of the throne, round about the throne, were 4 beasts full of eyes before and behind. So you can see there's just wheels, there's just fiery stream, there's your heavenly Father. Here, back to Daniel chapter 7. Verse 10, a fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. And the judgment was set, and the books were open. Okay, now verse 11. This is interesting. I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. So the beast that represents that last conglomeration of kingdoms led by the great whore is going to be given to the burning flame. Do we see that in the Bible? That's Revelation chapter 19. Revelation chapter 19. Notice what it says in Revelation chapter 19. Revelation 19, verses 20 and 21. Revelation chapter 19, verses 20 and 21. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. And the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. And then when you go to chapter 20, verse 10, notice what it says, Revelation chapter 20 and verse 10, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are. And they shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. So the devil is cast into lake of fire and brimstone after the beast and the false prophet. So here it says here, I beheld till the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. So the entire Babylonian system will be destroyed with its leaders. So now what you are now beholding are leaders that are going to be alive when all of this takes place, and they'll be cast into a lake of fire and brimstone. That would be your religious leaders and your quasi-religious political leaders, what you're seeing right now, like the next president of the United States. Which probably, in my estimation, according to the prophecy I study, the next president of the United States will be the last president of the United States. His 8-year reign will be the end of Babylon. Isn't that amazing? This is where we live. We live at the end, and we're being prepared to stand through the things that are coming on this earth. Okay, Daniel chapter 7. Watch verse 12. It's extremely important. Watch verse 12. Daniel chapter 7, verse 12. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. Isn't that an interesting statement? So the Bible is saying the dominion of Babylon, Media, Persia, and Greece was taken away, but yet their lives were prolonged. Why? Because we see them still present in the last iteration of Babylon, right? So that seven-headed, 10-horned beast contains in it elements of Babylon. It speaks like a lion. Elements of the bear, it had feet like a bear. Elements of the leopard, it had a body like the leopard. So you can see that even though these kingdoms don't exist anymore, their lives were prolonged inside the world empire's kingdom of Babylon at the end. You see that? So it says, even though they don't exist, they don't have power, there's no power of Babylon anymore, there's no power of Greece anymore, there's no Medes and Persians that have power anymore, okay? But the entities that created those kingdoms are present in the final iteration in terms of their belief system, in terms of their dominion power that caused them to lead, okay? It's present in the final iteration, which is represented in the woman who is the little horn. Okay, you understand that? So it says their lives were prolonged for a season in time. Okay, because they still exist inside Babylon. Okay, now in the midst of all of this, Daniel sees a very important thing, which he showed in Daniel chapter 2. And we're going to compare that to what we're getting ready to read. Daniel chapter 7, verse 13, 14. Now, we're going to see this in both the testimony of Daniel and the testimony of John in the book of Revelation, because they're saying the same testimony. Okay, so let's take a look. Daniel chapter 7, verse 13 and 14. Daniel 7, 13 and 14. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. So they bring the Son of Man to the Ancient of Days. The Ancient of Days is the Heavenly Father. They bring the Son of Man to him. That is Messiah. And when you remember, when they see Messiah has two titles in this regard. He has Son of Yahweh and Son of Man. When he's coming to us, he's coming as the Son of Yahweh, the Son of God. When he comes to the Father, he is the Son of Man, representing us. Does that make sense? So he's coming, being brought to the Father. So they call him what? The Son of Man. Because he's our high priest and he's representing us. So he's the Son of Man. When he comes to us with a message from the Father, as Revelation chapter 1, verse 1 says, he is the Son of Yahweh. He is the Son of God, Son of the Most High, because he's representing Father with messages from Father to us. But when he's representing us as our high priest and his perfect righteousness to the Father, he's the Son of Man. So here, he's the Son of Man being brought to the Father. See? So I seen the night visions, and one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days. So it's the Son of Man, our Messiah, being brought to his Father. And they brought him near before him. In verse 14, there was given him dominion and glory and the kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. Okay, so the kingdom given from Father to Messiah will never pass away. And this echoes what we read in Daniel chapter 2. When you look at Daniel chapter 2, and Daniel explains to Nebuchadnezzar the kingdom that's getting ready to come later, which is where we live. Daniel chapter 2, verse 44. Daniel chapter 2, verse 44. Notice what it says. Daniel 2:44. And in the days of these kings shall the Most High of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. See, same thing. So he's then talking about the kingdom of Messiah, the stone cut out without hands, the Son of Man. The Father Yah gave him a kingdom which is going to stand forever. Again, Revelation chapter 4 and 5, Revelation chapter 4 and 5, starting in Revelation chapter 4, this is the exact same event. The only thing here is that John is seeing it after the sacrifice and resurrection of Messiah. And it, in fact, is Messiah that's inviting John to come look at this. And he's seeing this after Messiah's death and resurrection and placement as the high priest. And see, Daniel was seeing it before Messiah's death and resurrection and placement as the high priest. So Daniel is looking at it as it was before, and John is looking at it after, which is why you see slight differences in what's going on here, but they're seeing the same thing. Revelation chapter 4, beginning at verse 1. And I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. So wait, the trumpet voice is Messiah. That's what John's referencing, what he heard in chapter 1. I heard a voice behind me as of a trumpet. That was Messiah. Okay, so he said that voice invited me to come and show me things that's going to happen hereafter. Well, as you and I are sitting here, it's already happened. I want you to notice what it says. A door was opened in heaven. Now, one of the 7 churches talk about a door opened in heaven. Which one talks about a door opened in heaven? That is Philadelphia. Notice what it says. Revelation chapter 3, verse 7. And the angel of the church of Philadelphia write, these things saith he that is whole, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. There's another one. It says too. Look, it says same chapter, same church. Let's see. Verse 8. Revelation 3:8. I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. I have set before thee an open door. He said a door was opened in heaven. That is the 6th church, out of which come the 144,000, which is where we are right now. Okay, where we are right now. The 6th church, the 6th seal, the 6th trumpet, 144,000. And he said, I've set before you open door. What does that mean? It means what Revelation 11, verse 1 and 2 says. Measure the temple and them which worship therein. But the court leave it out. It's given unto the Gentiles. See? So we are worshiping to the Father through the high priest who is in the most holy place of the sanctuary. And that door is opened to us because our prayers are being heard by the Father because of the blood sacrifice of Messiah. So the door is opened to us. Set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. What does that do for us? That allows us to be brought into perfection of righteousness as a gift of grace from the Father, because that door is opened to us. That's when Israel overcomes all their sin, the Day of Atonement. That's when Israel overcomes all their sin. That's why 2027 is important, the 40th Jubilee, the 40th anniversary of Messiah, beginning a Jubilee on the 10th day of the 7th month, which is the Day of Atonement. Okay. Back to Revelation chapter 4. A door was opened in heaven, and a first voice which I heard was, as it were, of a trumpet talking with me, which said, come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. And immediately I was in the spirit, And behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald. And round about the throne were 24 seats. See, who are those? Who are those people? Well, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. Who is that? Those are the brothers that was taken up in Matthew chapter 27. We're not going to go there now, but at the resurrection of Messiah, the Bible says saints were bringing out of the grave and appeared to many after his resurrection. Okay? That's who these people are. Okay? Who they are, we're not sure. The Bible never said. But there's 24 of them that we do know. Revelation chapter 4, verse 5. And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices, and there were 7 lamps of fire before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of Yahweh. And before the throne there was, as it were, a sea of glass, like unto crystal. In the midst of the throne, around about the throne, were 4 beasts full of eyes before and behind. And the first beast was like a lion, and the second beast like a calf. And the third beast had the face of a man. And the fourth beast was like a flying eagle. And the 4 beasts had each of them 6 wings. This is the same beast that Ezekiel saw in Ezekiel chapter 1. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. And the 4 beasts had each of them 6 wings about him, and they were full of eyes within, and they rest not day and night, saying, Holy, 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 Yahweh Al Shaddai, which was and is to come. And when those beasts give glory and honor and thanks to him that sat on the throne, who liveth forever and ever, the 24 elders fall down before him that sat on the throne and worship him that liveth forever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, Thou art worthy, O Yahweh, to receive glory and honor and power. For thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created. So now you see that the chapter 4 introducing you to the most holy place, introducing you to Father Yah, which you saw in Daniel chapter 7. And now comes the second part we saw in Daniel chapter 7, when the Son of Man is brought to the Ancient of Days and a kingdom's given to him. Here it is again in Revelation chapter 5. So we're going to read Revelation chapter 5 from verse 1 to verse 9. Actually, from verse 1 to 10. Okay? It's the same exact thing happening here. In Revelation chapter 5 has happened in Daniel chapter 7. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. Revelation chapter 5. So you've been introduced to the Father in chapter 4, the Ancient of Days. Okay, now chapter 5. And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne, that is in the Father's right hand, a book written within and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals. So the Father has in his right hand a sealed scroll, because that's what a book was at that time, a scroll. He has a sealed scroll, and it has 7 seals on it. So it's sealed up, and it's in his right hand, and he's sitting on his throne. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, Who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof? And no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders said unto me, Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. How was he described, brethren? They said what? The Son of Man is described as what? The Lion of the tribe of Judah. That's how the Son of Man is described. The Lion of the tribe of Judah. Okay? The root of David, who is king of Israel, the root of David hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. The Lion of the tribe of, just right, wasn't the tribe of Yafet, wasn't the tribes of Ham, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. He says he hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals. What did he do? He paid the penalty for Israel. The Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David. He paid the penalty for those Israelites, the ones that were in chains, who came in slave ships, who weren't brought to the land of their enemies voluntarily. They were kidnapped. He came for them. Okay. I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne, and of the four beasts, in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb, as it had been slain, and having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of Yahweh sent forth into all earth. There's the 7 spirits again. He has 7 horns and 7 eyes with 7 spirits. What's 7? 7, 7, 7. Perfection. He's perfect in eyes, perfect in seeing, perfection of the spirit, perfection in horns would mean perfect power. He has been given perfect sight, perfect power, okay, from his Father. 7, 7, 7. Okay. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat on the throne. The same thing in Daniel 4. He said, and was given him a kingdom. So this book represents a kingdom. Well, what makes up a kingdom? Well, you got to have power over land, over a landmass, but you must have what? Subjects. There must be subjects. Otherwise, you could be your own king in your own house, right? Nobody cares. Nobody knows. But if you are a real king, you have subjects. So this book has the list of his subjects. Father already knowing who the subjects of the kingdom are. Messiah didn't say, I don't know, but my Father knows. So Father said, okay, I'm going to give you the kingdom, and you're going to unlock this book, and you're worthy to unlock it, and you're going to know who the subjects of your new kingdom is. I'm giving you this kingdom. Okay? Verse 8. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof. For thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to Yahweh by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. And that's why you have people from every kindred and tongue and people and nation, because we were taken in captivity in every kindred and tongue and people and nation, and has made us unto our most high Yahweh kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. This is for Israel, brethren. You can't have a whole kingdom of kings and priests and don't have subjects. So you have the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, and then you got kings below him and priests, and then you have subjects. That is the people of the nations are the subjects. The Gentiles, the forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. Those are the nations. Okay, praise the Most High. You had David, and then he had garrisons in all of the nations of his family, Israelites, his relatives, his cousins were all over at garrisons, and the Philistines and the Moabites and the Ammonites. When David was king, he had garrisons all over the place made up of his cousins. Well, brethren, here come Messiah, and he's going to have us all over the place of his cousins, kings and priests. For the 1,000 years, we're going to be teaching the Gentiles the truth. We don't need to teach each other, because we all know, right? You won't have to teach every man his neighbor and his brother, saying, know Yahweh, for we shall all know him. So we know him. But priests are teachers. So we're going to be teaching the Gentiles, the ones that didn't know, the ones that would have followed if they know, and those that chose to follow the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and his people. They're going to be taught the truth. Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. Okay, well, we'll stop here for today. We'll continue in Daniel chapter 7. Notice we're taking our time, not rushing through this, because there's a lot we have to understand in chapter 7, so that when we get to chapter 8, it becomes easier to understand. And then we need to understand in chapter 8, so that when we come to chapter 9, it's easy to understand, especially chapter 9. It is probably one of the most misunderstood and mistaught chapters in the entire Bible, Daniel chapter 9, because the Christians have made their own white Jesus up and their own doctrines up, and they done messed up this chapter bad. But we don't have to worry about that, because we got this here, praise the Most High. Okay, so may the Most High bless you and keep you in the 2nd month of the Hebrew year. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, brethren.